Hey, in this video, we're going to be interviewing Lydia's Castle, and I'm Chris with Picks and Sticks Music Studio. And if you're new to this channel, we're an all things music channel, and we like to support our local artists and bands in the Southeast. And so, if you want to see more interviews like this one with local bands, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and if you wouldn't mind, hit that like button and hit the bell for hit the like button. Not only does this help the bands that we interview, it helps channels as well. And more likes we get, more views the bands get. So we would really appreciate that. Hit that like button for us. I'm excited about this interview. This is a band from Nashville based. They're a hard rock band. And so let's get started. Welcome to the channel, Lydia's Castle. I'm going to unmute them and bring them in. Oh, shoot. Let's do this right. There we go. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So I know you guys were talking about moving and stuff like that. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to do this. So we'll get started with some icebreaker questions. And I think Scott Reeves is in here. It looks like he's in here. And Scott Reeves is our moderator, and he'll be filtering questions and stuff like that. Let's go with favorite meal of the day: breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Ooh. I would probably say for me, it's dinner. I like breakfast for dinner, so breakfast. No, I love breakfast for dinner. I feel like breakfast is the most fun. I don't really eat or bacon stuff. Why not have Wait, mashed potatoes and green beans.
Okay. Sorry, we're losing you guys. The internet was working perfect right before we started, and as soon as we started, it started getting all jumbly. You there?
No, it's all good. Oh, okay. Are we good now? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little jumpy, but I can at least hear you now. Before it was like, the robot talking. So what was it? I'm sorry. So with breakfast, it was what?
Breakfast for dinner, it's a lot more fun than traditional meals. That's my answer.
That's all, it's like one of those things where like, oh, what do we do for dinner? What do we do for dinner? Like, oh, there's nothing. Like, well, let's just make breakfast. It's just easy and simple.
It's funny because breakfast just like covers a whole array of dishes. You could say dinner and like you could have a million things for dinner, but breakfast, it's breakfast food. So it's waffles, pancakes, or bacon or fruit, whatever you like to eat for breakfast. But I think that's a lot easier to figure out what to eat than lunch or dinner.
Yeah. My wife and I are high school sweethearts, but after I didn't play football, I played baseball, but she after the football games, we go to like Waffle House. It's just like you go, in the middle of the night, 12 o'clock at night, it doesn't matter. Like it's breakfast.
Right. I'm a dinner kind of person. I like dinner. I'm like, let's have some chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans. Like, I don't know. I'm just not. Breakfast isn't my favorite. Breakfast is my least favorite meal.
What's funny though, during the week, I don't eat breakfast. Like I don't eat till lunchtime. Like that's my thing. It's like I go to work and I crave lunch, like pretty much at 9 o'clock. I'm like, what's for lunch?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. I love breakfast, but I don't like eating in the morning, like first thing in the morning. I usually wait around until like 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock before I eat. To eat something. Some people do that by choice. I just do it just because if I eat anything like first thing in the morning, usually it makes me sick or whatever. So,
right.
Handful of granola or some sort of protein bar will be good, or an apple.
Right.
Any sort of fruit is good too.
All right. So Cody, what is your favorite guitar solo of all time? You can have more than one.
Okay, yeah, because that's a tricky question. And favorite guitar solo? Man, okay, so the first one that comes to mind is the Stairway to Heaven solo. Just because I think the notes are perfect. I think the tone is perfect. I think the tone is what kind of got me above all else, was how crisp and clear, but how powerful it sounds. Very clean. I'm a big Randy Rhoads fan. So Over the Mountain was always a really cool solo that I loved.
It's cool.
And then I'm a huge Hendrix fan. So pretty much anything Hendrix. I can't really pick just one. He did it different, slightly different every single time he played it. So all of them. Man, I don't know. I could go on and on. I mean, there's those are the top three that usually jump out to me is usually Page, Rhoads, and Hendrix.
Yeah.
So those are usually the three that I go to the most.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Tanya, so yeah, we'll talk about influence a little bit later. So I figured I'd throw a curveball. What is your favorite male singer?
Ooh. You did throw a curveball because I was.
That's why I said the questions.
Female singers. Okay. Male singers. I would probably say. Goodness. Who's that new band that we've just been listening to, and I'm telling you all the time to play them? They're not new. I just found them recently.
Oh, Alter Bridge.
Alter Bridge.
Yes,
oh my gosh.
Like
Miles Kennedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I just found Alter Bridge, and I posted that I found it on Facebook, and everybody went crazy. They were like, "What rock have you been living under?" And I was like, "I have no idea." I just ran across he showed me them, and that's been our jam for the past month.
I've always known about Alter Bridge, but it was just never really. I usually listen to and another guitarist that I love is Slash. So anything that Slash does is great for me. But the stuff that he usually does with Miles Kennedy is great too. I love all of. That's how I discovered Miles, and then we moved on to Alter Bridge, which is great too. You go through seasons of different bands that you like, or different styles that you're into, and that's just kind of the season that we're in right now, is kind of an Alter Bridge type of season.
Yeah.
I would probably say my next favorite would probably be Steven Tyler. And then probably after that would be John Lennon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with those.
Yep.
No.
So yeah, I'm a huge GNR fan, so I'm always a Slash fan.
Yeah.
And then Miles Kennedy, back in 2008, whatever, 2008, 2010, when they came out with that album, Miles Kennedy was on it. Miles Kennedy is just a badass. I've seen Slash in concert with Miles Kennedy twice now, and it's just he just.
I do.
Oh, have you? I have not.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them when they were headlining the pageant in St. Louis, and then I've seen them open up for Ozzy out in Kansas City.
Oh, nice.
They were great both times.
That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, you were talking about the album with Miles Kennedy. That first one that he put out, I guess it's not the first one. He's done Slash's Snake Pit and stuff.
Right. There's that one with all the other artists. They had Chris
singers,
Cornell and all that.
Oh yeah.
Chris Cornell, he's top tier for me. He's top 5 as far as vocalist for me goes, for sure.
Yeah.
I almost said Chris Cornell.
Yeah. Well, you should always say Chris Cornell.
I know. Sorry.
And if you haven't seen, was it Temple of the Dogs with Chris Cornell and
Eddie Vedder?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The two of them, one has the low and one's got the high, and it's just unreal.
Yeah. I kind of like that they only did, a small amount of songs, but I kind of wish they would have kept it going. I'm not usually a fan of the whole duo frontman type of thing, but unless it's the guitar player that's singing a song or something. But I don't know. They just did it so well, and they have two really distinct voices, and they blend really, really well together. So
yeah, it's kind of like a Marshall and Fender together or something.
Yeah, that's true. They're polar opposites, and they're rivals, but they work well together. So
yeah,
you can't really
go wrong there.
You can't get really wrong there for sure.
All right. Well, Scott Rees is in here, and he's saying, ask Tanya and Cody your questions here in the chat window. So if anybody's listening, send them in. We'll get those answered. So how did the two of you meet? I know I've heard about the band, how that's kind of, obviously it started through you guys, but nobody's ever really asked, like, how do you guys meet?
He was like hitchhiking one day. There was Craigslist.
Yeah, actually,
Actually,
that's not a complete lie.
that is some of
So
it. No.
I was in a band in St. Louis back in the late 2000s, going into 2010. So about like 10 or 15 years ago.
It's like mid 2000s.
So I was in a band then, and my guitar player was looking to produce other people, and he put out an ad on Craigslist and found her and brought her to a rehearsal. At that point, we were rehearsing for a headlining show, and we were covering
Cry Little Sister.
Yeah, Cry Little Sister from the Lost Boys.
Yep.
And it was a Halloween show, and we wanted somebody to do the child voices, but we just wanted a female, and Tanya fit the bill, and she came in, and that's how we met.
That's awesome.
How old were we?
18.
Got babies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, how old are you now, though?
We're 30.
I just
Okay.
turned 30.
Yeah.
He'll be 30
I'll be 30 in September.
soon.
Okay.
But no, we had our own like rock bands, so we were friends, you know, before we started dating and
Right.
getting married, and we played shows together, and that's just kind of how we met, was through music.
Yeah, just a natural.
The rest was history.
Yep.
Do you guys want to come talk about how you came up with the name, and talk about Lydia a little bit, and also the song "Search for You"?
Sure. So the name of the band, Lydia's Castle, came from, you know, Cody and I. We lost our daughter a week before our due date, and her name was Lydia. And through losing her, we ended up having to rebuild our own identities and figuring out like who we wanted to be as people again. And we set forth on a journey to just like rebuild ourselves, and we found ourselves back into doing music again. And so in rebuilding our identity, we built Lydia's Castle as a way to show people that you can go through tragic, horrible moments in life, and you can take something really awful and make it really beautiful. And so we use Lydia's Castle as a way to like show people hope and a light, that through dark times there can be good things that come out of it, as long as you look for that light and you just keep pushing forward.
That's awesome. I don't know why I just thought about as you were talking of it. So my family, it's like the Brady Bunch +1. I'm the +1. Both my parents are previously married. My dad had 4 kids, and my mom had 3, and then they had me. But before me, you know, they got pregnant and lost the baby premature. But the baby was weird. But anyway, the baby was Christopher, and
Okay.
I'm Christopher. So they like.
So you use the same name.
Yeah, it was a little. I tell people that they think that's so weird, but the thing was, it was a family name though. It was like
Yeah.
it was my grandfather's name. So
Well, I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
Well, I
I-
mean, here's the thing: is that people name kids after themselves all the time. So
Yeah.
Sure.
it's kind of like the same thing, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know, there's. So, for example, you could be Christopher Jr., Christopher II, or whatever.
yeah.
It happens all the time.
I went to
wouldn't say it's
work
weird.
with this girl who her first name was Mary, but she went by Jessica. But every female for like generations in her family, if you had a female, you like named them Mary. So every one of them had the first name Mary, but they all went by their middle name, which was completely separate from Mary. It was the craziest thing I ever heard.
I feel like it would make more sense to make it the middle name. The middle name would be the family name.
No,
and the
that
first
was
name
the
would be
first
different.
name. All of them were Marys.
I had a friend that I went to high school with, and we called him Trevor, but that was his middle name. And I wonder if that first name was something like similar like that, because it was something like in the family, you always went by the middle name and not the 1st name. But I never asked, well, what, was everybody else named the same?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know. I was like doing some kind of paperwork for this company, and I said, I thought your name was Jessica. And she's like, let me tell you this whole story. And I was just like, this is really weird.
Yeah.
So
So-
anyways, Chris, to answer your question, so Search for You is kind of teeters off of our story about losing Lydia. It's actually everything about that story is completely true besides the ending part of, you know, losing the woman to like a cancer diagnosis.
You're talking about the video, not the song.
Yeah, the music video.
Right.
So the music video, completely true. We used
To a certain point.
To a certain point. We used a couple things of Lydia's in that as well to kind of tie that together. But then we also had good friends that played in the music video as well. And they too had a similar story, kind of to ours, where they ended up losing a baby. And they ended up being the two in the couple in the video that played us. So it was very raw feelings, raw emotion. It's something that they went through as well. And you know, we that's just kind of like the story about it. And the song Search for You, you know, it's, if you're not watching the video, I think the lyrics, you know, everyone has somebody that they've lost that they wish they could search for in another life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just think the course of the song, you know, it's kind of like there's different waves of grief. You know, there's parts where you're okay, there's parts where you get really angry, and I think that really kind of shines in the music and the way that the vocals are portrayed.
Right. It's a great song. And definitely, you know, everybody check out their YouTube channel. They got some great videos on there. And I'm assuming there'll be some more because I know you have an EP coming out shortly.
Yep.
We do.
Yeah, we just released the physical copies last week, and so we're planning on dropping our full EP on all streaming platforms June 3rd.
Yeah.
So
that got pushed a little bit, right?
It did. Yeah. We fast track a lot of this. We've been together as a band with John since last March. So we've only been at this for about a year and some change, and we started recording at the end of last year, which usually a band that's at this point in their careers usually doesn't move this quick, at least in my experiences. But we've just decided that we wanted to try to get our ideas out as quickly as possible and just kind of get started. You know, a lot of bands, musicians' brains kind of take over, and you know, the next thing you know, it's been 3 years and you haven't recorded anything, you haven't released any music.
Right.
So we wanted to get ahead of that for sure.
So the first recordings was there what was the bass player? Did you do some of the bass, or did you have?
For these recordings, no, it was our producer Jack Daniels. That's his real name. But he was our producer who mixed and mastered, or didn't master. He mixed and engineered, and he also played bass on the record as well.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And then so our new bass player now, Corey England, he's been part of the band for a couple months now.
Yeah.
And man, he's great.
Mm-hmm.
This new music that we're going to be writing I'm so excited to just see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard, you had like 30 songs under your belt, right? That you guys have written.
Yeah, so
they haven't.
Yeah, Tanya and I collectively, we've written a lot of songs since we started writing together in like 2019. So there's a lot of songs that didn't make the cut, obviously.
I know.
There's some songs that we probably may or may not revisit. But it's kind of that 10,000 hour rule. You know, you try to spend as much time as you can on your craft, and then eventually, you know, you write 9,999 really crappy songs, and then the next one at 10,000 usually like a pretty good one. So that's kind of my angle at it. You just try to write as much as possible, and then just pick the best ones out of the batch.
Well,
listen, there's a song that didn't make the cut. It's called Heartstrings, and I'm just crossing my fingers. I love this song, and I hope that we get to record it on the next EP because it is awesome.
Yeah, just depends.
Yeah.
Depends. We'll see where it goes.
well, that's something to look forward to, and
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, your first 3 singles are unbelievable, so I can't wait till to hear this EP. What's coming out? So
Yeah,
cool.
you'll get a couple more bangers on there, but we're just looking to just keep moving forward musically. You know, we don't want to be pigeonholed into a certain style. You know,
right.
Our personalities are always going to shine through the music, but we want to try to show different sides of us as much as possible.
Well, you're still finding yourself too, right? So
yeah, no, that's true too. I mean, we're
always changing and developing.
Yeah, I mean, this collection of songs kind of came together. I don't even know the word, haphazardly, I guess, and it's just kind of little bits and pieces kind of thrown in, and we made something work. But we're looking for a more natural flow with this next set of songs.
Yeah,
because all of these songs we actually wrote without a bass player. Some of these songs I demoed out, I played the bass on them, and I mean, I'm not a bass player, I'm a guitar player, so we kind of sketched these songs out, and we played a few shows with them, and people liked them, so we decided to record those songs. And but I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
My favorite song did not make the singles cut, so it is on the EP. It's called Fading Away, and it is a total rocker. So once you listen to it, Chris, I want to have your feedback on what your new favorite what your new favorite song is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still don't. I can't. I was trying today just to like pick one out that I like better, and I just couldn't do it. They're all three banging, but all three are great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's a little something for everybody. If you like something heavy, then you got Slave to the Grind falling into place. If you like something a little bit more Chevelle, you have Phoenix. If you like something more Evanescence-y, kind of melodic and a little bit more reserved, you have Search for You.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the questions I had for Corey's not with us, but that was one of the questions. What's one of your favorite melodic bass lines for Corey? So I'm definitely looking forward to see what he brings.
I can already answer.
We can answer that.
pretty much anything that Flea does in the Chili Peppers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he loves all types of things. I'll let him speak for himself. But the bands that he's talked to me about are bands like Chili Peppers, all the way to like Periphery.
He is a huge Chili Pepper fan.
Yeah, but he likes a lot of different stuff. But we'll let him answer that the next time that he's on here.
Yeah, I mean it people not discount, but like GNR's Appetite for Destruction. Yeah, it's got some freaking awesome guitar on it. Obviously, it has Slash and Izzy Stradlin on it, but the bass lines, what bring everything together. And there's so many melodic bass lines, like Sweet Child of Mine. The whole bass line is pretty much melodic, but it brings everything together.
What surprises me about Duff McKagan is that he's from Seattle. He's a punk rocker, but he moved on to LA, and it's interesting to see where a musician starts in their career. So Duff, he was a punk rocker, but then he gets into GNR, which definitely has some punk rock influences, but they're at that time they were modern rock. Mm-hmm. And to see how he fit himself into those shoes when that's not originally where he came from is really, really quite interesting, especially on a song like Sweet Child of Mine, where he's able to, honestly, that's one of the better hooks in that song is the bass line.
Yeah. And he's done some stuff that's totally off the wall. I mean, Walking Papers. I don't know if you've seen. It's a band called Walking Papers. It's pretty much his little solo thing, but it's not even close to being any of those. It's not Velvet Revolver.
It was Loaded, I think is what it was.
Yeah, but that's still kind of similar to GNR. Well, Walking Papers is just not even near. I mean, I can't even explain it. It's just different. It's just like your college band, feel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's not real heavy. It's just kind of.
I haven't heard of it. I'll have to check it out though.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's just different. It's if you like GNR, you're not gonna like it, but
You'd be surprised, man. I listen to everything from classic rock to new metal, not new metal like NU metal, but newer metal that's coming out today, all the way to Frank Sinatra to I don't know, anybody.
Country.
Right.
Not much on the country unless you're at least 60 years old.
Unless he's unless he's in the car with me.
Yeah, unless I'm in a car with her. She's a country person.
I like country music.
I do respect people. Like Brent Mason, he's an amazing guitarist. Brad Paisley, he's great too. It was just never something I grew up with, so it takes me a bit. It takes me a few minutes of listening to a song to really kind of find something that I like in it. But everyone has their own opinions. It doesn't mean that music sucks. It just means it's just not for me.
He also did stuff with Shooter Jennings.
Yeah, Shooter Jennings is great. Yeah.
So it's just unique. Yeah, it's very cool how he can.
I mean, they play better than I can, so I can. I mean, just because it's not my style doesn't mean that they're worse than me. There's plenty of guitars that are way better than I am. So,
well, let's talk about a little bit about your writing process. Obviously we could talk about that for hours. So we can just kind of. How do you guys usually get started with the song?
We lock ourselves in a room together, and we get very frustrated.
Yeah, we kind of call it the war room a little bit. That's how I refer to it sometimes. You have to. The human brain is interesting, and you have to find ways of manipulating it and find ways of what works for you to get what you want out of it.
Right.
My brain especially can sometimes be clouded with doubt, and doubt meaning in the sense of did this riff that I write, is it any good? There's some songs that sorry about that. I think it's our trash guys that are picking up our trash, and they're never in a good mood. So, anyway, our writing process is that we kind of, generally I like to go in with an idea on my side of things. Tanya has given me some melody lines or whatever to work with, and I can work that way. I can fit chord progressions around it, and Search for You, I think, kind of worked out that way. Yeah, Search for You, she came at me with a melody line and some lyrics, and generally if the lyric is good enough or if the melody line is good enough, you can kind of feel tempo wise and groove wise where you want to go. So I know for me, for that song, I figured out the groove first before I figured out anything else. I knew I wanted to go like and I knew that that's the feel that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And you just go from there.
So Tanya, how did you come up with the melody? Are you doing it just with vocals only, or are you doing it with guitar or keys? Or
no, just vocals?
Wow.
I don't know. I just hear things in my head. I have hundreds of voice memos on my phone of just stuff, and I'll just hear it, record it, and then we sit down. And I'm like, hey, this is something that I heard. We'll see if it's worth working on. That's just kind of Fading Away, which is another one of my personal favorites. That's another song that was kind of like that. I just had this vocal melody line, and then we just wrote on it. But we've had songs where the great thing about it, Chris, about being in a band with everybody being so talented, is that there's not a one shoe that fits all, right? Everyone can write in different ways. We've written a song. So we have a song called What Comes Around, which is another song that's on our EP. And that song started with John just playing a drum groove.
Right.
And we have, Falling Into Place. That started with Cody on just a guitar riff. So we're in a band with everyone that's just can hold their own and is so talented to where it doesn't really matter whose idea we start with. If it's a good one, all of us are capable of writing to it.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Who are some of your biggest influences?
Well, collectively, I can speak for both of us. We share our love for bands like Chevelle and A Day to Remember. I mean, just any bands that are like that. I've recently been really getting into Tool, and A Perfect Circle, which
Pearl Jam
kind of go hand in hand. And then of course I love Pearl Jam. But our collective influences, we try to stay on the heavier side of rock, just because I feel like that's the most natural for all of us.
Right.
But I mean, we all love classic bands like Zeppelin and Aerosmith and Marshall Tucker Band. Just any of those guys. That's all fair game. If there's actually one of the solos on, I think it's on What Comes Around, I kind of did a harmony, like a Skinnerd solo type of deal. Producer Jack, when I was trying to figure out how to end the solo, I was having a really tough time with it, and I told him I need like 5 minutes. And he lives out in the woods, so you can walk out and you don't hear any traffic whatsoever. It's just birds chirping. It's really quiet and peaceful. And I walked out there, and it's like, I don't know how I'm going to end this. And I just thought of this really simple melodic guitar line. I was like, let's go in there. And we put it in, and he's like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Let's go ahead and harmonize it. And when I did that, he's like, oh, it sounds like Skinnerd. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I guess we're, you know,
He did say that.
you wear your influences on your sleeve, and I
Yeah.
think that's a perfect example. So if you can imagine Chevelle mixed with Leonard Skinner, I guess that's our band.
So did it have that tone too, or
What's that?
did it have the tone as well, or just the?
Oh yeah, it's pretty much like that. I mean, it's a melodic line that you would hear on a solo on a Skinner record. So.
What Comes Around is a very interesting song. It's very the lyrics are very like Arctic Monkeys, Royal Blood kind of like vibe.
Oh, Royal Blood is another band.
You
that we
know,
love.
but the music, the drum beat is like nothing I've ever really heard before. And then with Cody's like guitar tones and what he's playing, it's just a very interesting song. It's not all of our songs on our EP are completely different. This is a song that's just completely different. It still sounds like us, but it's just different.
Nice. Where do you see the band in 2 years?
I see
Platinum records.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the goal, right? In 2 years, realistically, I would say I see your band at the very least doing regional touring.
Absolutely.
We're trying to work up to that now. You know, I would ideally like to be touring at least within a couple of time zones for sure. But I think we're going to start mainly focusing on the Midwest and the East Coast, just because that's kind of just where we're at the moment here in Nashville.
Yeah.
But in
Atlanta.
Yeah, hey, I will. Atlanta's on our list for sure.
That's regional to us.
Yeah, it's only a few hours south of us. So
yeah,
Atlanta to St. Louis to maybe like Columbus, Ohio. That's like the region.
Chicago. And all those places too.
Yeah, check out Mad Life. Mad Life. Yeah, in Atlanta. Well, it's Woodstock, but yeah,
that's even better.
Writing it down.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
But
Mad Life.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a venue?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they do a lot of big tribute bands, but they also have a lot of local bands that play there. But so they have two venues. They have an outdoor venue and indoor venue. The indoor venue is like where you have to pay per table and everything, and they pack it in, and it's pretty good. They don't disappoint. There's tons. I'm sure you guys can find your own, but that's a good one.
Yeah, I think right now we're just kind of, playing around here in Nashville. We got a couple, outside of Nashville, still in Tennessee, like Clarksville, and then St. Louis, because we're, from there. And that's kind of where we started doing music. We have a pretty good, following and fan base there.
Right.
But, in 2 years, we hope to be, touring with, management, booking agents, and hopefully just with bigger bands, doing a tour with Chevelle or 10 Years or Hailstorm or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Right. Hailstorm, hell yeah.
There's a Smashing Pumpkins tour that was just announced, and I would love to jump on that because I'm a big Smashing Pumpkins fan.
yes.
Yeah. Festivals are good too. So
Yeah, get on some festivals. We're just right now we're at this current moment we're pitching management and booking companies, so if we can get somebody to pick us up, then that's the start of getting on festivals.
now, did I hear it in one of the interviews that you were talking about playing up north somewhere, right? Or no? It was out west or out north?
St. Louis. That's probably
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, we were that, and yeah, I think that's the only show that we have up north. Clarksville is technically north of us, but that's about north of us. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll definitely next time I visit my sister,
I know what you're talking about, Chris. You're talking about the Massachusetts run that we might be doing.
Might have been.
Yeah, so we're working on that right now. There's some people that want us to come play and do some Massachusetts casino kind of runs, and
Right.
So that's in the works.
how has being based in Nashville helped or hurt you?
That's actually a very good question. Nashville can help you with finding really good musicians to play with.
And opportunities.
I think I don't know if I'd say it's a downfall because it helps you get motivated to get outside of your city.
Right.
Everybody that you end up knowing here in Nashville is a musician, and they all gig. They all gig like 4 or 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes it can be a challenge if you play in Nashville too much to get people to come out to shows. Just because everyone's working, everyone's either a bartender or a musician or whatever it is. So I do think that is, you could call it a downfall. I kind of think of it as motivation to tour and do what a band is supposed to do if you're wanting to do it at this level. And I think Nashville has definitely helped us out with that and helped us show us what to do and what not to do. Of course, you have a bunch of professionals that have been doing this for years and years. But I wouldn't say that you couldn't do this anywhere else. I mean, we could have done this in St. Louis, but St. Louis, it has a great music scene. I'm not taking anything away from St. Louis, but I do think that the city could afford to have more music venues and just kind of give more of an appreciation to the art of original music. I think a lot of people like to come to Nashville for cover music, and I think that's what everyone thinks that they want to hear. And when they go to a bar, they think they want to hear somebody try to play Sweet Child of Mine, 10 times in a row. But I know what's good for them, and I think that they need to go see more original live music, because all the bands that these people like to hear, they were at one point in time, they were at our level where we're getting started. We were at our level, and everyone's been at that, and they wouldn't have had any success in what they do if they didn't have people coming out to see their shows when they were first starting.
Right. And I was going to ask that, is like, what do you think the percentage in Nashville is of cover bands versus original bands?
80% cover, 20% original.
Yeah.
There's not many of us.
But I will say, though, that every cover band, usually those musicians have some sort of original project that they're working on, whether they're writing by themselves, or whether they have like an actual band that they're gigging out with, besides doing cover music.
Right.
But there's a lot of cover bands, and that's how people make their money. There's a lot of musicians that make their money doing that. But that could be off. But we've been here for a few years, and from what I've seen, a lot more people play cover music than they do original music, which, to each their own.
No, I agree with that. I mean, when I visit, typically it seems to cover. I know in Atlanta, when bands are playing, the rock bands, like they'll play 50% cover, but then they'll play their own stuff too. So it's kind of nice that some of the venues here, the big venues that are, if they're booking a show just for them, like this, like, the Relics or something like that, they're going to like Smith's Old Bar or something, they're playing all their covers. But if they're going to a venue where it's like, a brewery or something like that, they're going to be playing 50% covers, 50% of their stuff.
I actually think it's a great idea. Personally, I mean, there's some people that don't like the idea of playing covers in an original band, and typically I'm not a fan of that either. If it's like a showcase, if it's like your band's EP release, for instance, there's nothing wrong with throwing in a cover song if you have made it your own. But if half of your set is a cover set, it's you might as well go play at a bar downtown and do that. Right. But there are some bands that do that, and I think it's a good idea, just depending on the setting. Like if you're playing a 4-hour gig, which typically that's what they do down here, they play at least 3 to 4 hours on minimum.
Oh wow!
And so I mean, generally half the people that are listening to you are either not paying attention or they're too drunk to care. So you can throw out your songs, and some people will pay. Like if there's a band called the Northern Runaways, and they are a band that plays Broadway down here, but they're starting to write their own original music, and they'll throw out their original songs here and there. There's also a band, Loose Lips, fantastic band, and
True Villains.
True Villains. They all do that. They play the 4-hour cover sets, but they also throw in their originals.
Yep.
And every time they play their originals, because
People
they're
love
great,
it.
it's great. They're great songs, but people love it,
Yeah.
and I think it's a genius way of doing it. You have your band go work and play covers during the day, and then you play your originals. You do your showcases at night, or whichever way you decide to do it.
There's good things and bad things about that. The good things is you're bringing in a new audience. Like, you're able to like market to people who are tourists, who have never heard you before. But then the bad thing is that you're playing your songs as well, so people can come and see you play whenever you're playing 4 times a week on Broadway.
Yeah, it kind of makes the showcases that you try to do at at a different venue other than a bar. It kind of makes it a little less special, but
right. So like if you're playing out 4 nights a week and playing your own music too, well then when you go ahead and you do a show, people can go see you whenever. It doesn't make people like, there's no urgency to go to your show.
Yeah, it's like, these guys haven't played in. It's not like these guys haven't played in like 5 months, so we need to go see them.
Right.
It kind of takes that away, and they're like, wow, if we miss this gig, which could be a really important gig for you, let's say that you have a showcase, and for me, we have label management coming out, or important people coming out. You want a good turnout at those things, and sometimes if you are playing out too much as an original band, or you're playing your original songs too much, sometimes that can hurt you.
Because you got to remember, Chris, like what Cody said, like at the beginning, when you asked him about living in Nashville, does it benefit you or does it hurt you? When you're trying to, when you're meeting people, you're meeting a lot of musicians. That's the majority of people who live here are musicians, or they work in healthcare. and when you're working with like musicians, you have to remember, if they come to your show, like they're missing out on money to come to your show.
Right.
And a good way to get them to come is going to their shows too. There's a lot of people who just think that these things, being in a band, it's like all handed to you. People come into your show, it's all handed to you, and it just happens. But there's like a lot of upfront work with like going to other people's shows, especially when all of us here are musicians,
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think, the grind is important, the support is important, playing out not too much is important. And then each time you play, having something new that you offer people, especially if you're an original act, So it's all about networking, being supportive. There's good, there's bad, but I don't think there's one shoe that fits all. So
no, I mean that could play in your favor too,
Right.
I'm not singing for 4 hours. Kudos to everyone else.
So in Atlanta, like the bands are like, I know, like especially like when the pandemic started and ever since, like they're all have each other's backs, they're all helping each other, all promoting each other. How's it in Nashville with the rock bands, at least?
It's great. I've seen people in the rock scene go to country shows, reggae shows, hip hop shows. The great thing here is like people love music in Nashville. They're just lovers of music. And I've seen people just really support each other and just go to all different kinds of shows. It's, I've been in scenes where it's very cliquey. It's hard to get in. It's hard to like get a show with that one band.
Right.
But, here in Nashville, it is the complete opposite. It is open arms. We all understand the struggle. We are all just trying to do the same thing. And it's awesome.
Nice. Yeah. If you could play anywhere, where would you play? And it can't be Red Rocks.
Oh.
Because I get that answer every time.
Madison Square Garden would be pretty cool.
That'd be cool.
The Royal Albert Hall would be pretty cool. The Fillmore East and the Fillmore West, just because Hendrix used to play those.
The Machine Shop in Michigan would be cool.
Yeah, in Flint, that'd be cool. The Whiskey anywhere on Sunset Strip would be great.
Whiskey would be awesome.
The Viper, if it wasn't closing.
Yeah, the Viper would be cool too.
I know. I just cried a little.
But the Whiskey, I think, would be like kind of the pinnacle for me, because I grew up listening to all those bands, all the Sunset Strip bands.
Yeah.
So
the Troubadour.
Yeah, the Troubadour, the Roxy, all those venues. So
yeah, that would be pretty sweet.
And then Red Rocks.
That's like everybody's dream, Red Rocks. That's the first time I was like, okay, you can't answer that one.
I'm kind of curious to like how it actually sounds out there because it's open air and like the sound is reflecting off the rocks and stuff. It just makes me wonder how good it actually sounds. You know,
the reverb would be pretty. You would think it would be a lot of reverb at least.
Maybe.
You'd have to set all the amps to like no reverb at all, no delay.
Yeah, a very dry signal for sure. It just makes me wonder because sometimes those open air stages a lot can get lost.
Oh yeah.
So I always kind of wondered how, and I've never been there, so it may sound great for all I know, but it just makes me wonder how good it actually sounds. But we'll see.
I wonder if up close miking like the stage area would probably sound pretty good, but I don't know about how once you get farther out, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know. You get a lot of bouncing off the rocks, and
I don't know. I feel like anytime that I've ever been to a show like at an amphitheater and I have like a lawn ticket, I always feel like I'm missing something in that show. So
really,
like
what are you missing?
Well, the I don't know. It's just like the punch isn't there. Well, it's not a dumb statement. It's you lose a lot of sound out in the open air. That's why some of the best venues are actually like closed in. You know, in the building.
I agree with you. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, but anyway.
No, I mean I saw like Metallica at the Mercedes-Benz. You know, it was unbelievable because it was Metallica, right? But like seeing Slash in that little tiny, you know, it was at the Roxy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a small venue. You're on the floor. It's just freaking hitting you. You know, you can feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I attribute that to people actually still playing amps on stage.
Yeah,
I think that has a lot to do with it. I trust me, I totally get it. That bands want to go for that clean stage look where they don't have any amps. It helps out the singer a lot with hearing themselves, and I totally respect that. But on the other hand, as a guitar player, and I know Corey, our bass player, is the exact same way. There's nothing that beats having that punch in the face that comes from having the full sound coming off the stage as well. You know, there's sometimes if you're at the front of the stage and you don't have any amps on stage, there may be some things that you're missing, or like I know for me that's the way I feel about it. Because generally, if you have a clean stage, people don't usually run monitors. They usually use like in-ears.
Yeah, and they're using enclosed cabs somewhere.
Or ISO cabs off the side of the stage or something. And I think it works for some bands. For me, I kind of like having that live sound coming off the stage as well. Plus you have more control over whether you're hurt or not. So,
and there's also like 1,000,001 things that can go wrong during a show.
Yeah.
And so like if something goes wrong with your packs or whatever, you're bored,
a cable,
which, we've had happen before. And, thank goodness, like for amps, Yeah. So don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Well, I was surprised with Metallica. It was like, his little drum set and then the bass rig, the guitar rig. And, there was 2 guitar rigs, obviously, but, it was just there wasn't much on stage at all,
They probably have the money to buy new cables before every show.
I'm just saying they were barely anything, but I guarantee you everything was, they're using the cabs probably for feedback and stuff like that. And everything else was in ISO cabs somewhere,
Well, your instrument performs differently too when it's connecting with the amp. And that's actually a big reason why I still play with amps on stage. I think your guitar resonates differently.
Right.
I think it's sometimes almost easier to play with an amp on stage than not.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott. We just got spammed and Scott just deleted it all. Thank you. That's what Scott's there for.
Thanks, Scott.
Spam is for Hawaii.
Plus moral support during the week when I talk to him about the interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your social media and all that stuff. Let's talk about you.
Okay.
What kind of questions do you think? Like, are you just talking about this personally, or like?
So where can people see your music?
Sure.
Or
So
not
you
see,
go to
but hear your music. I guess
You-
they're hearing it, not seeing it. But
Yeah, well, you can. I guess you can see it too. You can see
Yeah.
our music on YouTube.
everything is on lydiascastle.com.
lydiascastle.com. You can find our Facebook, our Instagram, our YouTube page. You can also order merch from there. You can find us pretty much in any platform, but
There we go.
But yeah, so you can
Tour dates, photos,
bio,
store.
music, all
Our
that. all that good
EPK is
stuff.
on there.
Yeah.
what's that? I haven't even looked at that part.
Yeah, so that's what
So
we would
it's-
present like management and
It stands for Electronic Press Kit.
so if you
Okay.
go down, Chris, there's our bio is in there. Those are our press photos. You also have our music videos, songs that are on our EP, and I believe all of our music videos, and then also there's links to all of the articles that we've been featured on so far with our PR gentleman that we've been using. So
Right.
it is
And-
a one-stop shop.
And I will, I always put all the artist links and stuff in the bio and not bio, but the description, and I'll put this in there as well. So hopefully I'll do that tonight, hopefully.
Cool.
And I usually timestamp these. I don't know if I'll timestamp this one or not. It just depends. I'll probably timestamp it, but it takes a while to timestamp stuff.
I understand that. Yeah.
Usually if like some bands it's hard with bands, like, but like single artists will do like they'll like play and I'll like timestamp the performances and stuff. But
Mhm.
with bands, it's a little harder to do that, because obviously it's hard to do a 5-piece band. I had a 9-piece band once, and they just had 2 people, do like acoustic, and it came out really good.
That's
well, there you go. What is it, Slipknot?
No. No, they were pretty awesome though. They got some great music, but they have a lot of brass instruments and stuff like that, and
That's cool.
harmonica, and
That's interesting.
they're kind of they're not country. They're rock, but I don't know. They're unique. They're different. But
Okay.
they're good. Big band, a big band. But
Cool.
yeah. So we talked about your social media. People can find your music. I'm a big Spotify person, so I've listened to music on Spotify. That's where I think I found you guys.
Yeah, you can if you go on the website, there's
Spotify, there's Apple Music, there's
Tidal, Amazon Music.
Amazon Music.
We're literally on every single music platform that
that we can
there's
find.
there's music to be on.
Yeah.
And you can find those all on the website, along with like all of the social links. And also we're like the only Lydia's Castle in the history of Lydia's Castle. So if you just go into Google and type Lydia's Castle,
Yeah, we pop right
you're
up.
gonna find us.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Where can people see you play?
Yeah, so we got a show coming up in Clarksville, Tennessee at the Warehouse. We're playing with a called Discrepancies and Cadence, and that show is June 11th. Then we also have a show in St. Louis on Saturday, June 18th, with our good friends in Inimical Drive. And then we also have another show in July that we're working on. It'll be also in Clarksville at the Warehouse. And I don't remember the date or who we're playing with yet, but
I can't remember. But if you go to lydiascastle.com,
it will be on there.
and you like us on Facebook and Instagram, follow us, and we'll make sure that we post that on there.
Yes.
Subscribe to their YouTube channel too.
And YouTube, just because you like seeing us.
And music videos are expensive, so
Yeah, music videos are expensive, so watch
them.
Watch them at least once. or twice.
Please.
Anything else you want to plug? You want to talk about you got the EP coming out shortly here.
Yeah, so we're gonna release the EP on June 3rd. And there's a pre-save on our Facebook and Instagram as well for that. And we are secretly sending out hard copies of the CD before that. So if you would like to hear the music before anyone else, you can purchase a CD. You can just go on to Lydia's Castle, go into the contact form, and just put in there, I would like a CD. We'll reach out with an email. We'll send it out to you, signed by all of us. But yep, that form right there out. And it's $10 for a CD, $5 for shipping. All of us sign it, and you get to hear it before it hits all the platforms.
There's also exclusive artwork and liner notes in there too. So
Yeah,
there,
lyrics.
and there's also a special QR code. We won't tell you exactly what it is, but there's a lot of goodies that you get with it too. So you get your
And you
money's
can
worth
stream
with
it digitally.
and also you can stream it digitally
with the
So
QR code.
If you don't have a CD player, you will be able to stream it digitally before everyone else as well.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
Yep.
That's cool. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys being with us, and we're getting spammed again.
Oh,
great.
no.
So spam is our number one friend or our number one fan.
Yeah.
It's weird. I'll go like shows and shows with nothing, and then all of a sudden it's like one show would be boom, 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 boom.
They heard Lydia's Castle.
Oh man, talk about spam. Every time I get on what is it called? Instagram. Anytime that a picture is posted on anybody's page, but especially like our page, that I've noticed about half of the comments and half of the likes are from bots, from like spam bot accounts. Or
It's
whatever.
because of the hashtags. You know, they just
Yeah.
they're just like sharks. They're like, give us your money, we'll get you more likes.
So that is one thing I will say, especially in younger musicians that are trying to get a gauge on how many people actually listen to their stuff or like their music.
Mhm.
Right.
Take the social media thing with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Half of them are probably bots, unless you know them personally, then that's cool too.
Right.
And usually it's pretty easy to spot those things. But one thing that that gave me a lot of encouragement, because that fact always kind of got me down. I was like, none of these people are real. But I listened to an interview, Corey Wong from Wolfpack, and he does a few other things as well. He's a funk guitarist, and he has a podcast. And I was listening to him interview John Mayer, and they were talking about that exact thing where, there are a lot of bots on the internet or
paid likes
or whatever. But one of the things that he said was that there will be a time when you release your music and everyone's really excited leading up to it. And you release the album and it's like the finish line. You release your album on a Friday, you party all weekend, and by Sunday, you feel like everyone has kind of forgotten about you because they stopped liking and engaging on your posts as much. But he also brought up the fact that, like, some of your favorite bands that you would go out instantly to buy their new album if they came out, like, let's say Guns N' Roses writes a new record, I'm instantly going to go out and go buy that record, but I'm not going to sit there and like all of their photos and like all of their posts and stuff on social media.
Right.
When people are trying to gauge social media as a form of success, I don't really see it as that way, because there's plenty of people that listen to Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses, but they don't engage on social media. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just because you're not seeing likes and comments and stuff like that doesn't mean people have forgotten about you. It might just mean that they're like me, and I don't really engage on social media as much. I'll sit there and look at it, but I won't like and comment and stuff usually.
Right.
So gauge your success on shows and feedback from people that you actually know, and just go from there, and just trust the process. If you write good songs, people will come.
Yeah, always.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you being on here with me, and everybody, thank you for watching.
That's
Yep.
And go straight home.
All right. Thank you, Chris.